get out of the war and so on. It was deft handling in the early years. So Lenin understood from 1917 to his death in 1924 that the things had changed in the world. He didn't update the text Imperialism because the text was about explaining what happened, in the Great War. From 1917 till really 1989, the world crisis was focused around a conflict between the capitalist bloc and a socialist bloc, with the third world jockeying and vying for power. There was really very limited inter-imperialist conflict. It is true that German capital and Japanese capital emerged to threaten US capital. But look what happens. The moment the United States felt that Japan was getting too big for its boots, summons the Japanese to the Plaza Hotel in New York, forces them to renegotiate their interest rate, and that's the Plaza Accord. 10 years later, in the 1990s, when the Plaza Accord went too far, they summoned them back and they did the reverse Plaza Accord. In other words, German and Japanese capitalism, even though competitive with US firms, big difference between inter-firm competition and the competition between national capitals. The big bourgeoisie in these countries was not competing with each other to the death. They were not willing to go to war for external markets and so on. They were, in fact, the big bourgeoisie particularly was integrating with each other in a very precise way. And then after the Soviet Union collapses in 1989, the integration deepens with the global commodity chains, finance markets, the role of a company like BlackRock, which manages the assets of an enormous number of capitalists from different countries. Of course, there is inter-firm competition, car companies vying with each other, but that's different from international-based capitals competing with each other. Volkswagen produces cars in the United States. Okay, so now what is Volkswagen? Is it a German company? It's just closing down factories in Germany. So what we see is, in this period, as the United States attempted to create a kind of eternal hegemony, the internal turbulence which I talked about earlier of capitalism weakened the US. Its elites have become detached from any kind of